Hello, shed hackers, and we're presenting you with Europe's cheapest car.
Well, car engine with wood. Oh look, some oak leaves.
Oh yeah.
Made out of oak. Oh, and what's that, Jake?
Oh,
this is what they do now. They add in crisps.
Yeah, that's what you get with Europe's cheapest car. Get some cheap crisps.
And today we're looking at the materials used around our shed, including the car.
Yeah.
Hi, shed hackers. So we're going to be looking at some metals, and to do that we thought we'd start off with this cheap car we're looking at. And today with my son we're going to go through a few points. So Jake, what's under the car bonnet?
Okay, so under the car bonnet we will start off with the battery. Now inside the battery it actually has little lead plates, and then we got the car body, which is normally a thin sheet of steel. And then if we come over here, we got an aluminium heat shield.
Yep.
This looks like galvanized steel piping. This is plastic braided like wire.
The braiding may be stainless steel but electroplated.
Yeah, and then
what about the block?
With the whole engine, it's cast aluminium.
Yeah.
And part of it is cast iron.
Cast iron block, cast aluminium probably head.
And then we've also got like things that you can't see, but
what about the catalytic converter? Takes away the NOx gases.
Oh, so we've got precious metals in there, like
right down there will be
like gold, platinum, those sort of really precious metals. Really quite expensive, actually.
Probably some coppers in the wire, lots of aluminium used. There may even be some gold in some of the circuitry.
A lot of copper from
lead in there.
The battery going to the lights and all that.
Okay, well done. We'll go back to the shed now. Shed hackers. Hey, shed hackers. We're going to try and do a little bit of materials analysis, or at least recognition on Jake's bike.
Okay.
So, Jake, the chain's made from?
So the chain is normally made from some type of steel. Not really cheap chains are actually just made out of pure steel. And as you can see, this one's not rusting, but that's because you've got to keep it lubricated.
It may be a stainless steel or some sort of steel alloy. Okay, what about the rim of the bike?
So the rim on the bike, it's normally aluminium or carbon fibre, but in this case it's aluminium. And then we got the frame here, which is also a type of aluminium, and it's the shape of the frame that really gives it its strength. And then,
what about the front disc? What's that made from?
Another kind of aluminium, and it's a type of aluminium that doesn't oxidise.
What about the forks?
Once again, it's a type of aluminium that doesn't oxidise or rust.
Okay, well,
if that makes sense.
Yeah, corrode. Right, what about the pedals?
The pedals, these are normally like painted steel. Same with the pins, they're like painted, and that's what stops them from rusting.
And this one looks like aluminium actually, I've got to say. It's
maybe.
Quite light. Yeah, I think that would be rusting if it was steel. Could be another alloy of steel. An alloy, as a lot of people may know, is a mixture of more than one metal. And
then of course we've got the gears here, which are a type of steel, a really hard wearing steel.
So why have they painted the bike, Jake? Why have they painted the frame? Why? Makes it look nicer, doesn't it? But
yeah.
What else? Was there another reason?
Well, sometimes it stops it from oxidising or scratching, that sort of thing.
Okay, so when you say oxidising, what do you mean?
So it's a way that aluminium corrodes. So it comes up a bit bubbly almost.
So it's rusty?
Yeah, basically, but in an aluminium way.
Right. Oh, in an aluminium way. Okay then, well done.
Okay, so in Shed Hacks we like to keep fit, and to do that we need to lift some cast iron weights, and these cast iron weights are on a mild steel bar with a chrome plate, I think it is, and it's the bar that's rusting, and so are these weights, which means it's been exposed to water and weather, which has made them corrode. And then these ones are also chrome plated, but they haven't been exposed to water, so that's why they're not rusting.
Hi shed hackers, right, we're going to try and do a little bit more on metals, and I'm going to pan across a collection of items made from metals of various types and categories. And there you go, look at all those different types of metals, a real mishmash of metals of various types for various products, of course. Jake, could you tell me a little bit about some of them, or point out some of the metals that you think you know?
Okay, so we'll start off with the electric motor. So it's in an aluminium case here, and then this is some sort of steel or cast iron, something like that.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's
and then
rusty slightly, isn't it?
On the inside here, where you can see that wire, that is copper wire, and it's been coated in insulator, so some sort of rubber or plastic.
Well, that one, you see it's green. It looks like it's some sort of almost electroplating. Sometimes they actually spray on like a lacquer as well as to insulate it. Okay, moving on. What about this little steam engine we've got?
Okay, so with this little steam engine, I think this is aluminium here, and of course with the piston, it's I think steel. I'm not terribly sure.
I think it's a brass. Look, you can see it there, brass sticking out.
Yeah, I think that's brass as well.
And this will be brass. Soldered connection here. Cylinder's brass, although it's a little bit grotty, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's the steam engine.
Okay.
What about the gas cylinder?
With the gas cylinder, this is normally just painted steel.
Yeah.
Just so it's quite cheap. And then these, they can be a range of materials, but normally it's some sort of aluminium or something like that, like steel, something quite cheap.
That's chrome steel bar, that one. This has been pressed out from mild steel and chromed, I think. What about this plate? I think it's it's stainless steel, I think.
This plate is more likely to be stainless steel,
yeah,
because it looks like one from a weighing scale sort of thing.
Yeah, so it doesn't rust, will it? Won't rust.
No.
Is it magnetic?
I'm not quite sure. I'll get a magnet.
Oh, interesting. Stainless steel.
So that may be, if it's stainless steel and it's a high quality, that means
Zinc.
It's got a lot of zinc in it, which makes it a non-ferrous metal.
Yeah, good. Well, no, it's still ferrous. It's got iron in it. It's still got steel in it in some way.
Yeah.
But it's got zinc in it, and it tends to take away the magnetism, if you like. Okay, what about the pen?
With the pen, it'll be some sort of aluminium, just because it's fairly cheap to make.
Yeah.
And it won't rust or anything like that. It could even be chrome-plated steel.
Some of the more expensive ones, I think, are even stainless steel. So it's brushed, but yeah. Probably some sort of tin-plated
and this
steel.
Is stainless steel because, well...
Oh, stainless
that's
steel, yeah.
Trusting the seller's word.
Well done. The tenon saw will be some sort of tool steel, okay, with a slightly higher element of carbon in it, possibly about 0.1% to 1%, to give it some strength as well.
And it could even be high carbon steel, which is also named high speed steel.
Good, and that will be used to drill bits. So the drills you use
for like
these sort of drills, high carbon steel. Alright, so moving on. Oh look, what's this, Jake?
Also, this is an old phone, and inside this battery here we got lithium, which is another type of metal, and iron, which is another type of metal. And iron is like steel, it rusts when it comes into contact with water.
Okay, we'll stop there and come back a bit later.
Okay, so we got stainless steel for the scissors because it's quite a hygienic metal. And then here we got aluminium, and stainless steel screw there so it won't rust. And then we got I think it's zinc plated steel.
think that's chromium plated steel because of the colour.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And then we got copper wire here, quite thin. And then this is a tin and lead alloy, which is used for soldering and connecting electrical components.
Oh, good.
And then this is a torch. Yet again, it's aluminium on the outside.
And that's anodised to give it that colour. So it's a chemical reaction they use with it. Very clever. Right. And this circuit board, what's that from, do you think, Jake?
This circuit board is actually a motherboard from a computer.
Wow, look at that. What a collection of metals on that. There's certainly going to be copper, tantalum in the microprocessor, a metal you don't often hear about. There'll be gold. There'll be probably elements of mercury in there. Let's say tin, lead with solder.
There's just a massive amount of metals.
Possibly even silver in there. Very difficult to extract once you put it together. This is the trouble with these things. They're not sustainable because imagine trying to take all those various metals out of there. It's going to be very, very difficult. So this is the sort of things we need to think about in the future.
Yeah.
What's in the motor there? What's that?
So in the motor we've got copper wire, and this is insulated. Even though it may not look like it is, but it is, otherwise it wouldn't work. And then we got this bulb here, and what do you think this metal is?
I think it's some sort of tin-plated steel. Yeah, you know, or even chromium, but I think it's some sort of tin-plated. Oh, look, that's going rusty. So what's that?
So this will be some sort of like steel, probably like a mild steel.
Yeah, good, mild steel, I think it is.
Something like that.
And this one probably is. Look at the section. Which is a standard section. And of course car bodies and the chassis of the car is made out of sections like this, probably a bit thicker than that, but and you can see that's been seam welded. Look, it's been welded in a seam along there. And we'll do a video on welding, MIG, TIG and so forth, and arc welding. But anyway, moving on. Now this is actually, it looks like a metal, but it's actually a metal coated plastic. Isn't that clever? So they've actually very quickly coated that with some sort of metal coating quickly onto the plastic, because we scratched it and realised it was plastic underneath. Okay, the torch, Jake, what do you think?
So the torch, these are just like little steel rods to hold onto it, and when you open it, it's got LEDs on the inside, and in the batteries down here, they have more precious metals, so steel as the outer casing to hold all the metals on the inside.
Lithium-ion batteries, you think?
No, they're just normal alkaline batteries.
Okay. Right.
But though even those have some sort of precious metals.
What about this? What's this?
So this is aluminium, but like wound up.
Okay, so it's in a tubular form. Okay. Yeah.
And then that's
sheet aluminium.
Yeah.
Steel there. Aluminium nail. Tell it's a light aluminium, not as strong as steel, but it doesn't rust. It does in seawater, of course. What's that, do you think, Jake?
So we've got copper here. It's a really good conductor when it comes to electricity, but it isn't the best.
No, what's the best?
I think it's something like gold.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Because they use gold in the International Space Station for electrical components.
And why do they use copper for piping then, do you think?
It doesn't corrode. It doesn't really oxidise. It does oxidise, but only a little bit over a long amount of time.
And how can you connect these, do you think?
You can have an olive on here and then a nut that tightens onto the olive, which crushes the copper.
I think my point was really, what can they do to connect this?
You can also use some solder.
Solder, you can solder connections. And soldering, there's electrical soldering there. That's electrical soldering. But you can actually solder miniature connections made. You can actually solder copper. Okay, moving on. This is some sort of perforated or formed aluminium sheet here. Clever stuff, actually. This is used for all sorts of things. There's a section of aluminium there. Not as strong as steel, but half as weight, half the density, half as light. Brass, we think. Looks like brass. Aluminium again. Tin plate. So that's quite useful stuff. Often used for cans, food cans. So it could be a steel underneath it and then covered in a very thin layer of tin. Tin's now very expensive. And this we discussed earlier, Jake, didn't we, before the video? What's that, do you think?
So this will be, I think, mild steel, something like that. And as you can see, it's rusted on this side.
Yeah.
But on this side, it hasn't. And that's because this side, it's been electroplated or
galvanised,
yeah. Something like that, with a zinc coating.
Good.
And this side doesn't have that. That's why it's rusting.
So let's just pan across. I find this subject really quite interesting because we're now using so many materials. Some of them it's hard to keep up with, and they're developing new alloys. And as you know, guys and shed hacks, an alloy is a mixture of more than one metal. Similar to a composite in woods, really, isn't it? Where you get more than one material joined together, often with a resin. Okay, look at that bearing there. Look, it's got a bit wet. It's going rusty. Big bearing there, look. Size of that.
Yeah.
Probably used on a lorry or something. Okay, anything else, Jake?
One last thing. Cans like this, they're normally aluminium, just because it's quite cheap. And even like Pepsi cans and all those, they're aluminium. And baked bean cans are the ones that are normally steel with a thin layer of tin coating.
Brilliant. Thanks, guys.